book lovers, we're finally here to talk about my fall TBR. So we're gonna go through all the books that I definitely want to read this fall. I mean, there are quite a lot on here, and will I get to all of them? I'm not sure. This is not like a promise, but I want to. I'm excited about all these books, and it's really not my fault if I don't get to all these books because there's just not enough time. It's not that I constantly get distracted by other books and go off to read them instead of the ones that I had on my radar before that, but I feel like that's neither here nor there. So in my last video, I talked about all the new releases coming out in September, October, and November. So naturally, assume that most of these books are on my fall TBR as well, but I won't include them in this video since I talked about them in my last video. But in general, if you're interested in all the new releases, definitely go watch that as well. But after this one, because we're here to talk about my personal TBR first for my favorite season, which is fall, which is Witchy season, and I am so excited. I kind of put them in their genre categories, kind of like I did with my fall book recommendations, because I think in fall you really can read most genre. Obviously, like fantasy, thriller, mysteries, and dark romance are ones that I feel like are most suited or where I'm most drawn to doing fall. But obviously I'm a romance girly, so I will talk about romance as well. I'm trying out a horror movie. No, not horror movie. I'm trying out a horror book. And then for some reason, I feel like the classics suit the fall season as well. I don't know why I told you all of that right now. However, let's start with my first book on my fall TBR, and that's part of the witchy, cozy atmosphere. And I actually only have one in this category. Well, one that already came out. The other one is a new release. But the one that I have here is The Kiss Curse by Aaron Sterling. And this is part of the, I don't know actually what this series is called, but the first one is The X-Hex. And this is just very cute, a bit silly, but you know, you get all the witchy vibes. It's just basically Halloween Town, so this is definitely my read for Halloween. And the X-Hex was about like a second chance. I don't know what this book is about. This seems to be like a witchy rivalry, and it all started with a magic inspired very hot kiss. Also, Tessa Bailey said some praise on this book, and I think this was not too spicy, but there was some spice in the first one, and I do like myself some spice, so yeah, definitely excited for this one. That brings us to my next category, which is dark romance. And I don't read overly a lot of dark romance, but I do like dark romance here and there, and especially during fall and winter. And the one that I had my eye on also last year is actually Butcher and Blackbird, and that's a romance between two serial killers, or two murderers at least. I think something along these lines, and that just sounds like so much fun. I just want a fun, entertaining, and hopefully spicy time with that one. And then there's a series that I wanted to read for quite some time now, actually years, I think, and that is the Mindfuck series. And I don't know if it's because, like, if you count it all together, the book is so thick. I mean, it's separated into like 5 smaller books, I think. But I really want to give the series a try because I heard so many good things about it. And also the concept, like we have our woman who is a serial killer, and I think she's starting something with the investigator or the police guy, the detective? Is that what it's called? With a detective who's actually investigating her murder cases. And I think that sounds like so much tension. So yeah, I hope that this year I will read the Mindfuck series. My dark romance TBR for fall is actually not that tall. The same goes with contemporary romance. And I think it's because I have so many fantasy books on here. And obviously I'm gonna read other books, but the books that I'm talking about in this video are like fall themed books, like that I really want to read this fall. Otherwise, if I don't read them this fall, I will probably read them next fall. I know it doesn't make sense for everyone, but I am someone who really is into seasonal reading, and I am such a mood reader, and for some books I just need to be in the right mood, and like a season really affects my mood and like the book I want to read for it. So yeah, there are probably other books that I will read in this time, and other maybe dark romance or romances definitely, but they're not specific for me like for fall. The ones that I definitely want to read this fall is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. And first of all, I mean, this cover screams fall. And I think this is probably second chance. And the first sentence here is, can they stop hating each other long enough to fall in love? Kind of seems like an enemies to lovers story, which I just really, really like. And also the praise here is Fresh, Witty, and Utterly Romantic by Ellie Hazelwood. And I love Ellie Hazelwood's book. So this is very promising. And just looking at this book right now, like makes me really want to read it. I have so many other books that I need to read first for this month, but I hope that in October I will get to this goodie. Then the other romance I have on my Fall TBR is Unbearably Yours, and that one I have on my Kindle, and it also came out in September, and same theme, the cover just really screams fall to me. And we have Forced Proximity and Second Chance in that one as well, and small town. And I feel like small town romances are just very suitable for fall for some reason. Now let's get to my fantasy pile, because that is definitely the biggest one. A year or two ago, I would have never thought I would be a fantasy girly. I only ever really read romances and then maybe like a thriller here and there. But I thought for the longest time that fantasy is not for me, and boy, was I wrong. The first one I have here is The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cizzarelli, and I know this has like a different name and cover for America or Britain. I don't know which version this one is. I'll put the other one up. This is book one in the duology, and this is Enemies to Lovers, because she's a witch and he's a witch hunter. I really want to read it still in this month because it's also my September TBR, and also we're entering witch season, so this one seems perfect for fall. The next one I actually don't have yet, but that is the Atlas 6, and the Atlas 6 is also on my 2024 TBR, and I have so many books still unread on my 2024 TBR, and I just really have to tackle that list. And one of the books I put on there is the Atlas 6, and I'm so excited about. I think what kind of scares me to go into the series is that a lot of people say that the writing by Olivia Blake, is that her name? I think so, is not more complicated, but maybe a bit more sophisticated, maybe. Like, not as easy to read. And since I'm not a native speaker, and I mean, you can hear, I'm always a bit scared when, you know, native English people say that about a book, because then I'm like, oh, will I even understand anything? I mean, I'm sure we'll be probably fine, and it's not that I don't understand English. It just always scares me a little bit away, and obviously this is also a little bit outside of my comfort zone, because this is not a romantasy. At least I wouldn't call it that. There might be like romance in there, but, you know, way more as a side plot. But I think the idea is just so cool, because I think it's that there's 6 or maybe 7 people chosen to do trials, and then only 5 or 6 can win. That is not the plot. Like, not really. I know in my head what the plot is kind of like, but I don't think I can explain it. But I mean, the Atlas 6 has been here for a while. I think it's also more of like a dark academia fantasy. And as I said, like, the people that try to be, like, that were chosen to be chosen then, I think, they try to like prove their powers. And in this world, they have different powers. Oh my God, I'm really unsure if that's at all right. I feel like I'm very unprepared, but usually I'm also someone who doesn't love to know a lot before going into a book. I go most often quite blindly into a book. Yeah, so I'm sorry that I did a shitty job explaining what the Atlas 6 is about, but I hope I like it. The next book I have here is Sinner's Isle. This is also a fantasy about a pirate, and I think Sinner's Isle is like an island where lots of girls are, and one of them is supposed to get chosen by this king to be married off, and our main character, Rosa, doesn't want that, so she flees and then encounters this pirate, Mariano. Not 100% confident if this was the correct plot, but it's something along those lines. And the main reason why I chose this one for my fall TBR, it's orange and brownish and kind of, you know, has like fall colors, but also it's on my 2024 TBR. I do like the synopsis of this, but I think it's like told in third person, and I just really don't like third person. I think it might be told in both POVs though, so at least we have that. Yes, we have both POVs, but I just don't get why you give me a third person. So definitely need to read some of my physical TBR, because this is just getting ridiculous. Because I got so many new books for my birthday, and then I also got some myself for this fall. I don't know, maybe you want to see a haul for that, because I think that would be quite interesting as well, so let me know in the comments. But let's move on to the next book, and that is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. And I'm not gonna lie, I mainly chose this because it's called A Touch of Darkness, and darkness is something I wouldn't read in summer or spring. So it's either gonna be fall or winter. And I had my eye on this for so long. I really want to read it because it's a Hades and Persephone, if I say that correct, retelling. And I believe that I'm someone who really enjoys retellings, although I don't even know if I read one, maybe. Can't remember right now. But I'm definitely not someone who has read a lot of retellings, but I have this feeling that I would really enjoy them. I really like the Greek mythology, or even like the Roman gods. Just overall, like, I find it so fascinating what people, like, how they came up with it. I mean, like, these were like the first fantasy tellers, like, it's incredible. Like, it is so much more than now, like the main religions, like they have one god, but back then they were like, there were so many and they were messy and they had relationships. Like, I don't know, I'm just very fascinated by that. I don't know how long the series is. I think there are several books, and I think why I haven't read this one yet is just because I was scared to go into another series that is also longer, because I have so many unfinished series. But I'm working on my series, so it's okay to start another one. Talking about the series that I'm working on, I definitely want to read these two books this fall. So the first one is here, Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the second one in the Divine Rival duology. I read Divine Rivals, I think, like back in spring, and I really enjoyed the book. And I really enjoy the whole atmosphere. And I think maybe it's because it's more like a historical fantasy, and it just, I don't know. Sometimes I describe books as warm. I don't know if everyone gets that, but that is kind of what I got from Divine Rivals. And I think it is just because everything is quite soft. The plot is not necessarily soft, but the way it is written definitely is. And I'm very excited to read how their story will end. I think why I'm a little bit scared to go into this one, or why I didn't go immediately, is that a lot of people that liked the first one were a bit disappointed by the second one. And I hope I'm not. And then the second one I have here is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. This is the second one of Emily Wilde's series. The first one was her encyclopedia. This is perfect for fall and winter because this is very atmospherical. There's not like a lot of action going on. Like, this is definitely more about just the vibe. Definitely something I would like love to read maybe in bed with a cup of tea. And yeah, with these two I would also finish up 2 more series, so yeah, definitely high on my radar. Oh yeah, finishing up series always means I can start new ones, obviously. Makes totally sense. And the one I want to start this fall is Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. I really want to start this one, and I don't know why I haven't yet, because I had this several times in my hand about to start. I don't want to neglect this one this fall. I also think that the series is a bit longer, and yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant to go into longer series, but it says here we were meant to be seductive, we were designed to lure humans in, which just sounds so good. This is something that I definitely feel like is fall themed. At least the covers. Okay, moving on to mystery and thrillers, and I have quite a few on my radar, and I really would like to go back into reading more thrillers. The first one I have here, I just want to get out of the way. That is I Am Pilgrim by Terry something? I know it's Terry something. Why is that not on the cover? Terry Hayes. And I had this book for years and years. I already started it several times. This was recommended for me. So I definitely want and need to read this one. But I think I either have to get a different copy, or I just have to read it through like an audiobook, because this format is just not happening. I don't know who like thought of that. I mean, this is like as big as my hand, and just like you can't really properly open it. I just hate this format so much. Yeah, so I will only read this if I get a different copy or audiobook. I don't think it will happen through this version, because it just makes me aggressive. I think I bought it myself, so really it's on me. There's nothing wrong with the book, or at least not the inside, like the outside very much. Like, so much is wrong with this format. This looks like I've read it several times already, and it just said that it's sitting there and I haven't yet, so 100%, I need to read this year. Then a book I am definitely excited about is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I heard so many incredible things about this book series. This is the first one, and this is kind of described like Criminal Minds, but YA. And we have cold cases that get solved by basically kids, and they all have like a natural gift. They're either really good at reading people or having like a photographic memory, and because of their talents they get chosen by the FBI to go through cold cases. I know that Jennifer Lynn Barnes is just so easy to go through. You have very short chapters, and I definitely want to give the series a chance. Then another one that is coming straight from my 2024 TBR is Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney, but I've been wanting to read a thriller by that author for quite some time. And this might be like a thriller that I might end up reading a bit later, like during winter, because the cover just kind of goes winter, you know? Then the last book for this category I have here is Love Letters to a Serial Killer, and yes, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely the cover that sold me first and foremost, but I just think that this is also such an interesting plot. So we have Hannah, who is writing to this serial killer. I'm just gonna read you the back. Hannah Wilson can't text her ex again. It's too sad. She can't snap back at the new boss who took her promotion either. She'll be fired. But what she can do is write a series of furious letters to William Thompson, arrested for the murders of multiple women he got close to. Hannah's shocked when William writes back, each response more surprising than the last. And as communication tips from curiosity to obsession, Hannah has to wonder if William might be innocent and whether she even wants him to be. Woohoo! I just think that this sounds so intriguing, and yeah, can't wait to read this fall. Then I have one book that I want to read as like a horror book, and it's gonna be my first, and I think this is horror. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what I heard, and I hope I'm not giving you false information. Like, definitely when you see the cover, this is not something I would consider like a fall or winter read. Like, this would be something I would actually love to read during summer. You know, summer is over, so I missed my chance to read it during that time. But since this is horror, I think I could read it during like the fall and winter season. And I don't really know what to expect from horror. Like, I do like horror movies. Like, I don't know how it's different from like a thriller. As I said, I've never read a horror book, but I definitely want to try it out. So yeah, if this is horror, and I do think it is, then I'll find out this fall. Okay, my last two books on my fall TBR are actually classics. And as I said at the beginning, fall is just the season for me to read a classic. And one of my goals is actually to read all of Jane Austen's novels. I read Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion so far, and I really enjoyed both. Like, my favorite is still Pride and Prejudice. And even though I really like her books, why it takes me a while to pick one of them up is just that this is very old, so it's harder for me to read it in English, and that just, yeah, brings me out of my comfort zone. And I know that it takes me a little bit longer to go through her books, and you know, I can't just read it as fast as I would read like a contemporary romance. I haven't decided which one I want to read yet. I might pick up Sense and Sensibility. Like, this is just the one that I have here to show you guys. And the other book I have here is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and I have this also on my 2024 TBR, and this is just one of the books that, you know, gets referenced so often, and I don't know, I just want to see what I think about this book. Like, I want to read the story. And this says, it's a haunting, poetic, and grand scope Emily Bronte's masterpiece in considering one of the most unique Gothic novels and enduring love stories in English literature. And just by the word Gothic, I immediately thought of fall. I also really love this edition. So yeah, these were all the books that I have on my fall TBR. I am super excited to get to all these books, and I'm also excited what is on your guys' fall TBR. Are there any books that you want to read definitely this fall season? And if you haven't checked out my video with the news releases coming out this month, and then also October and November, definitely have a look there as well. You might find a new read for this fall there. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like and also subscribe for more bookish content in the future. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!